In 2017, my company was valued at over $1 billion. This is how I did it. Hi, I'm Kendra Scott. I'm founder, executive chairwoman, and chief creative officer at Kendra Scott LLC. I started Kendra Scott Jewelry because I couldn't find the jewelry that I wanted and that I loved. I was looking for semi-precious stones and beautiful, unique shapes and cuts that I could afford. And quite honestly, there was just nothing out there that worked for me. And I thought, if I could make product that was like this, perhaps there's other women out there that want it too. I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin, and there wasn't a lot of fashion going on in this town, but my aunt was a fashion director for a department store in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And going and seeing her in her beautiful apartment in Milwaukee and going through her closet where she would have all these gorgeous clothes and accessories, it was like magic to me. And so sometimes people would say, you didn't go to design school. You can't be a designer if you don't go to design school. And I completely disagree with that. I think we all know intrinsically the things that we are good at, the things that we're passionate about, the things that excite us, that we jump out of bed in the morning wanting to do. My very first investment in my business was taking $500 out of my own money to buy supplies and create my very first little collection. And for us, that was a lot. Our mortgage was $1,500. I had my first business, the Hat Box, for 5 years. And I realized I couldn't just sell hats to be able to make payroll and all the things and the demands of running a retail store. So I started making jewelry and putting it in the case line right in the front where the register was. My jewelry would sell the day I'd put it in the case. And after I closed the Hat Box, it was crazy to me because my customers were still calling. And guess what? They weren't calling for hats. They were calling for my jewelry. I started in 2002. My first son was born 11/11/2001. I took him in a little baby carrier and we went store to store with my samples in a tea box. It was so scary to go out and do that, but I wanted to be present with him. I wanted to be the best mom I could be, but I desperately wanted to get back into business again. And it started very small out of the extra bedroom of my house. I would make jewelry while Cade was napping. I'd be wire wrapping and fulfilling orders or calling people on the phone, seeing if they needed a reorder, doing sales, all of the things. It was this new phase of my life as a mother. I had a second child when Cade was about 2.5 years old, Beck, and I was in the very early stages of building my business. And I can tell you at that time, I was terrified that I wouldn't be able to support them, that I was gonna have to give up this dream of my business. But it was this village that we created within our workplace of these strong women and mothers, and we were all there together, supporting one another, loving one another. But I'll never forget that first day. I actually sold all my samples to the last store I visited, and she gave me a check for $1,200. And as we were getting more orders and more success, and the stores were selling out of the product, the boutiques here in Austin, I realized I couldn't just keep taking the profits and trying to buy materials. I needed to have more money than that. So I went to a bank and I asked for a line of credit. And based on some of my orders, and also thank goodness for my father-in-law giving me a good word, I was able to get a small line of credit that I eventually built up. But a line of credit is debt. And debt, you have to pay off. And I had someone I loved, my father-in-law, say, I believe in her, and I wasn't going to let him down. So that drove me even more. As the business grew, the money that I would make, I was investing right back into the business and hope that eventually I can